So hopefully some of you will have heard of us before, but I don't expect that everybody will have. So we're a mental health charity that works with the agricultural community in Wales. We are relatively new kids on the block in some respects. This will be our 6th anniversary this July. But despite that, during that time, we have expanded quite dramatically from originally being established with the understanding we work in Pembrokeshire, in a corner of Pembrokeshire. We expanded into Carmarthenshire and Ceredigion and Powys, and then into the whole of Wales from 2019, just before the pandemic hit us really. So that has impacted on our ability to get our messaging out, but actually forced us to be more creative, like I think everybody else did. We're a mental health charity. We have 3 main areas that we work with. The first and perhaps the most important is something which Catherine touched upon earlier, stigma, and challenging stigma around poor mental health and in general mental health conversations in agriculture. So we do a lot of work on our social media and out in the communities, try and raise awareness that we all have mental health, and that sometimes for some of us we need a bit of help to maintain good mental health, or to get from having mental disorder to being well again. We deliver training and we provide support, and I'll talk a little bit more about each of them in a moment. We work with the agricultural community, so we're seen as a farming charity, but actually the agricultural community is so much wider than that. There's lots of support services, and in Carmarthenshire is a prime example that certain communities within Carmarthenshire, pretty much everybody's connected to agriculture in some way or another, because they are maybe driving milk tankers, they're fixing tractors, or they're nurses working rurally with people in our community, married to a farmer. So it's quite wide. It's not just farmers that we support, but what's really critical for us is getting the message to people who work with farmers in other roles that there is that support available. And that's where we really come in this type of opportunity to raise that awareness. We offer our services bilingually, and that again is pretty critical, especially in certain parts of Wales. When we're talking about mental health, we offer counselling, and being able to offer counselling in somebody's first language is essential. They're not sanitising what they're talking about by thinking I need to translate this into English. So that's really key for us. So now I'm hopefully going to be able to play a video, and I hope this will work. Please tell me if you can't see or hear this. You should see a black screen.
What I liked about Daniel was he had this really...
Can you hear that?
He had a lovely smile and just kind of kind eyes.
We can hear it.
Emma and Daniel got married in 2014 when their daughter Marley was 2.
Sorry about that. I'll try resharing. Okay, try now.
Had this really soft way about him. He was from an agricultural background as well. He had a lovely smile and just kind of kind eyes.
Emma and Daniel got married in 2014 when their daughter Marley was 2. A year later, they had their son Tristan.
There were signs of anxiety when I was pregnant with Mally, but I never really considered it could have been a deeper issue, really. He wasn't sleeping properly, if at all. He very much kept himself to himself. Life just pretty much went on like that. Then all of a sudden, rock bottom. That I was really alone, trying to understand what was going on. One night, he went, and then he never came home. You never expect to find yourself at the age of 27 being faced by a policeman telling you your husband is dead. I just remember just collapsing on the floor and just screaming.
Daniel had taken his own life. 2005. In Britain, it's estimated that 84 men take their lives every week.
Try explaining to a 4-year-old that she'll never see Daddy again. And then she was like, 4-year-olds now, just saying to me, we're gonna be okay.
Sadly, Daniel's story is not uncommon amongst agricultural workers. On average, one farmer a week commits suicide due to stress and isolation. In his desperation, Daniel had left Emma a letter.
It was 13 pages of the most difficult thing that you could imagine reading. But part of it was, you weren't able to help me. To just do something.
Emma set up a mental health charity to help people in rural mid-Wales. Using Daniel's initials, the Dpj Foundation was created.
Isolation is a massive problem. Some farmers don't see anybody for weeks on end. So I started to try and develop support that would work for them.
Within months, all kinds of fundraising began. As the money started coming in, Emma set up a 24/7 helpline for people in...
It's an absolute lifeline within the community. So many people don't have anyone to turn to or anywhere to go.
Emma's charity now also pays for qualified counsellors to make vital home visits to anyone who needs it.
It's the outreach element that I feel is unique and makes a difference. Farmers can access the counselling where they want to and when they want to.
But for the pioneering way to encourage them to seek help.
So I set up some mental health awareness. It was connected to agriculture. It could be that lifesaver almost.
I'm with farmers every day. I'm not a counsellor, but I can help spot the signs and send them maybe where they need to go.
Through Emma's determination, the farming community in Wales now has the support Daniel never had.
I just hope that Dan's kind of watching over and can see what his legacy is kind of left and how many people he's helping with his story.
So that's really the story of Dpj. It's quite a hard-hitting video, but we're working in a hard-hitting area and something that has so many implications for so many people in rural Wales. We now also work in more urban areas. We support people in the southeast, because obviously there's farmers across the whole of Wales. And that support that we talked about on the video is our Share the Load helpline, and that's a 24/7 telephone and text line. It's free to call and it's available to anybody. We do get calls from people who are not in the farming community, largely I think because it's a 24-hour line and it is free to call. So we're there to listen, and we do. What we can't do then is provide the counselling service to people who don't fit within our criteria, but we will then try and find them a similar service or a service that can work for them. One of the things that we're really proud of is how quickly we can move. So if somebody phones us today, they should receive a call from their counsellor within 48 hours to have an initial assessment and an initial conversation, and then their first session within a week. And we generally provide 6 sessions, but we provide as many as really that person needs. As was mentioned on the video, we offer outreach counselling. That's perhaps not the most popular. A lot of people want to speak to somebody on the telephone because they find it difficult to fit in seeing somebody face to face, but also speaking to somebody face to face. But also many farmers like to have that opportunity to go off farm, to go somewhere else, to take their problem somewhere else with them. But since we launched the Share the Load service, which was in 2018, we've supported more than 600 people with counselling across Wales. So that's grown really rapidly, and it's growing more and more over the last probably 12 months or so. And that might be that we're getting the message out better, we're letting people know about us. It might be that things are just so hard at the moment. And certainly we're seeing through our helpline that it is very difficult. Lots of people are struggling, and struggling in a big way compared to 6 months ago, where there were still lots of people needing help, but it was a more low-level need. And that's one thing about our Share the Load service, is that we make an assessment of how in need somebody is, but we don't have a gatekeeper in respect of our accessing service. So some people phone us and want counselling. They just don't feel like themselves. They're not really sure what it is, but they need somebody to talk to, and we can support them. We also have people contacting us who maybe have made a suicide attempt or are thinking of suicide. So that full spectrum. Some people will have been to their GP, they are advised of the waiting list on the NHS and suggested they contact us. So so we also do provide that little bit of a stopgap in some ways, but if that helps other services happen more quickly, then that's great. We're there to help. In terms of the other aspect of what we do, mental health awareness training, and this is open to anybody who encounters farmers. We actually have quite a number of people who are maybe not obviously associated with farming and food, but it does focus a little bit in our training on why farming is such a high-risk occupation from a mental health perspective. But the training is available for anybody. It's free of charge to book onto as well. So so we've got some sessions running over the summer. Then the other thing, which is really key to what we do, is promoting wellbeing. And we use our social media, but we also send our volunteers and staff, we've got a small staff team, into places like agricultural markets, into agricultural events, merchants, making sure that we're having proactive conversations with farmers, because waiting for people to come to us isn't always going to work. We're really pleased with our following. We've got quite a significant following really on our social media, particularly on Facebook, but we try to use Snapchat as well. We're in the process of developing TikTok, just trying to reach younger people as well, and we work with agricultural colleges on that, in terms of trying to capture people younger so that their wellbeing conversations are happening. They're more equipped as they enter the industry to be able to deal with any challenges that life brings them. Some examples of some of our wellbeing initiatives: we did a self-care advent calendar as a countdown to Christmas. We provided free cuppers on Time to Talk Day in the markets to everybody loves something for nothing, and it was an opportunity to get people to talk to us. And then, you know, just in a relatively low risk way for them, but then also to be able to remember us, I suppose, and know that we're there. What next? We've recently had some funding to support our bereavement services. We've been providing counselling around bereavement and grief for as long as the service has been in place, but it's always been just a mainstream part of our service. So we applied for and were successful in receiving Welsh Government funding to provide that grief bereavement counselling, but also to do some other work around grief and around bereavement. So we're developing a training package aimed at young farmers in particular, but will be open to anybody, around grief and bereavement and around suicide loss. And unfortunately, it is still a fact of life for our community. And also providing support after bereavement, so moving quickly and providing support for families who've been bereaved, but also particularly with a focus on sudden bereavement, but also providing some resources for young people and picture books for children, which we're creating at the moment, which is something that we're quite excited about, because it's in response. Sorry, it's in response to what we've been told by the people we're supporting through our helpline already has been a gap in the market, in the services. We're also really excited about something that we're very early days on, which is an outreach health checks, which will be Pembrokeshire based, but we'll actually be going into markets in Carmarthenshire because it's on the border, obviously, and that's the Howell Davies lorry. So we've been funded to purchase a cattle lorry to install a consultation room within it. We wanted to look from the outside like a lorry, like a cattle lorry, like something standard, so that it looks non-threatening. We don't want it to be all jazzed up with DPJ on it. But once we get people in there, we'll carry out health checks, blood pressure checks, that type of thing, and mental well-being conversations. And as that evolves, then we'll look at what else we can add on to that. Hopefully, we'll be able to use that in schools and events as well, and potentially have magnetised livery that we can put on it to promote ourselves. We are already working in Monmouthshire area on a similar project, and we have student champions in the agricultural colleges. We've just started going into shows for the summer, and we continue to raise awareness really in the community to challenge stigma, and any conversations we can have really to normalise conversations around mental health, because there is still a barrier to talking, and we're trying to break that down. So that's us. Sorry, I went a little bit over, but there are my contact details, and I hope that you're, as a group, more aware of what we do, even if you've seen our bail stickers and thought, I'm not really sure who they are or what, I've heard of them, but I don't know what they do. Hopefully now you do know. So thank you very much.